Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at sources with a title that really grabs you. It's intense.
It really is. We're talking about material from a psychiatrist and a neurologist titled Kareo, Okuma Psikolo Jasaya, Okumayan Bunar.
Which translates to, well, it's something like read. The psychology of reading. Those who do not read go senile. That's quite a claim.
It is. It frames reading less as, a hobby or just for education, and more like a vital, almost biological command.
Right, a critical life function. So our mission today is to unpack this urgent command, oku, read, because the core argument here is, frankly, startling.
It connects not reading directly to, well, the physical decay of the brain, and then to losing your mental clarity, your freedom even.
Linking senility to skipping your reading, it sounds almost hyperbolic, but you're saying the sources back this up biologically.
They do. They present it as a matter of neurological survival, not just literacy improvement. It's quite compelling, actually.
Okay, let's start there then, with the biology. What's actually happening inside our heads?
Well, the fundamental principle the sources highlight is ya kulan, ya kebet. Use it or lose it. It's a stark reality.
Use it or lose it, applied to the brain itself.
Exactly. Starting around age 20, believe it or not, the brain begins losing nerve cells. We're talking about roughly 50,000 cells per day.
50,000 every day. That's staggering. That adds up incredibly quickly.
It does. And it gets worse. For people over 60, that number can jump, potentially even doubling to 100,000 daily.
100,000 cells lost daily.
And here's the critical point the neurologists stress. Nerve cells are unique. Unlike, say, skin cells, they don't regenerate.
So once they're gone for good. The pathways break.
Permanently. You see how over decades this natural attrition, if unchecked, inevitably leads towards cognitive decline.
Okay, so that's the baseline decline we're all facing. But the sources argue reading specifically fights this. How?
This is where it gets really interesting. Reading isn't passive. It's described as a metabolic heavyweight for the brain.
A heavyweight.
Yeah. Think about what happens when you read. PK scans, advanced imaging show incredible activity. Multiple parts of the cortex light up.
Which part are we talking about?
You've got the occipital lobe processing the visual words, the temporal lobe decoding language, the parietal integrating concepts, and the frontal lobe managing attention, memory, pulling it all together.
So it's not just one area. It's like a full brain coordination exercise.
Exactly. It demands intense, simultaneous activity across these critical zones. And that activity drives up blood flow, increases glucose metabolism. You're basically feeding and strengthening those neural networks.
You're building resilience, a cognitive reserve.
Precisely. The sources even connect this to old wisdom, the saying that a scholar's knowledge won't be erased. Modern science seems to back that up.
That makes sense.
Regular, challenging reading is presented as the best non-drug defense against what they call demands or senility.
And there are actual statistics on this, the difference education makes.
Oh, yes. And they're quite sobering. An uneducated person over 75. They face twice the risk of dementia compared to someone with at least 8 years of education.
Twice the risk. That's significant.
It underscores the message. Keep that brain working intensively. That means reading. And not just when you're young, but consistently, from cradle to grave.
Okay, that covers the physical brain, the hardware, so to speak. But this connects directly to the mind's function, doesn't it? Let's talk about akul.
Right, akul. This is really the philosophical heart of the argument. It's often translated as intellect or reason, but the sources define it more deeply.
How so?
As the power to distinguish good from evil. It's about moral and rational judgment. Humanity's most precious gift, they call it.
But it's not automatic.
No, that's the key. Akul depends entirely on information. Bilgi, knowledge, is the absolute precondition for akletmek, the act of using that rational moral faculty.
So you might have the raw processing power, intelligence, or zaka, but without knowledge, akul can't function properly, like an engine without fuel.
Perfect analogy. The engine stalls. The sources list several mental faculties that need this fuel of knowledge. Let's take just two. Orientation and judgment. Moakime.
Orientation, like knowing where you are.
Exactly. Who you are, where you are, what time it is, why you are there. Without a constantly updated mental map from knowledge, your sense of self and context just dissolves.
And judgment. That seems crucial for everyday life.
Absolutely critical. Assessing situations, making sound decisions, it's the foundation of responsibility. Without feeding your mind with correct information through reading, your judgment falters.
You rely on hearsay, emotion.
Right. Instead of facts and critical analysis. And this leads to a state that the sources give a really shocking name.
Which is?
Functional Gerizekalaluk. Functional retardation.
Wow. That's blunt. Functional retardation.
It's meant to be blunt, I think. It describes someone with a perfectly healthy, normal brain.
But who just isn't using it.
Exactly. Like having a high-performance car but never taking it out of first gear. The capacity is there, but unused. So, medically normal but functionally deficient, mentally unstable, purely through neglect, intellectual apathy.
So if akal, this moral reasoning, depends on knowledge, then knowledge must be the pathway to real freedom.
That's the core message. True freedom, the sources argue, citing thinkers like Farabi, happens first in the mind. Freedom in the mind. How? Because correct knowledge, dorubilji, dismantles irrational fears and dependencies. Ignorance makes you vulnerable.
Vulnerable to being told what to think, what to fear.
Precisely. Vulnerable to manipulation, whether by charismatic leaders, ideologies, or just misinformation. You end up reliant on false gods, so to speak.
So knowledge protects you from that.
Yes. The sources are explicit. Correct knowledge eliminates the basis for being exploited or enslaved by others. It empowers true independent judgment. It's psychological liberation.
Okay, so the individual stakes are incredibly high. Preserve your brain, enable your reason, secure your freedom. What about the collective level? What happens when a whole society neglects reading?
The sources measure that cost in a single word: zillet. Humiliation, abasement, societal decline.
And they back this up with data.
Yes, and the comparison they use is stark. It highlights what they call a fallout, a disaster. They look at book publication rates.
Okay, what do the numbers show?
In a country like Germany, they cite 2.7 books published per person per year, almost 3 books for every single individual annually.
Okay, that's a lot of knowledge being produced and presumably consumed. And the comparison.
Compared to the reality cited in the sources for their own context.
Yeah.
Just 7 books published annually per 1,000 people.
7 per 1,000
Yeah.
versus nearly 3 per one. That's not even close. That's a massive gap.
It's a chasm. And they argue you can see this intellectual deficit reflected physically in society. Look at public spaces. They contrast places of comfort with places of intellect. In Istanbul, for instance, they state about 95 people share one coffee house. A social hub.
95 per coffee house.
Okay.
And libraries.
Get this. 65,000 people share one library.
65,000 per library compared to 95 per coffee house.
Think about what that ratio says about collective priorities. Comfort, social ease, distraction. Vastly prioritized over intellectual engagement and the rigor of reading.
That imbalance really paints a picture of this societal zealot, this abasement born from choosing comfort over thought.
And it all comes back to that initial urgent command, Oku, read.
A fact that it's the first command, before even prayer or fasting, that's significant.
The sequencing is everything. Why first? The source is compared to shouting, "Dude, stop," right before a car crash. It's an emergency instruction.
Get the crucial information first before you try to do anything else, like reading the manual before operating the machine.
Exactly that. Reading provides the essential knowledge needed to live correctly, to use your akal, to be free. Without that foundation, how can you possibly follow other instructions or live responsibly? It's the prerequisite.
And the sources take it even further, don't they? Elevating reading beyond just self-help or knowledge acquisition. They connect it to dialogue.
Yes, this is the ultimate culmination. Reading isn't just about taking information in. It's fundamental to establishing a vital three-way dialogue.
A dialogue with the divine.
Exactly. 3 crucial conversations hinge on reading. First, obviously, reading the divine book, the Quran, which they call the life manual, getting the direct instructions.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second?
Second, and this is really expansive, reading nature. Gosashia.
Reading nature. How do you read a mountain or the stars?
By observing the physical world, the universe, existence itself, the Kevnia Larry, the cosmic signs, it's about looking beyond the surface to see the purpose, the design, the messages embedded in creation. Recognizing the designer through the design.
Ah, so it's interpretative observation, seeing meaning in the world around you.
And the third dialogue is reading personal life events. Yashadu Olayler.
Reading your own life?
Yes, interpreting your own experiences. Your struggles, successes, everyday occurrences, not as random noise, but as continuous personal messages and lessons from the Creator.
So reading in this broad sense turns everything, scripture, the universe, your own life story, into an ongoing conversation.
It connects you to meaning on all levels.
Okay, let's try to summarize this deep dive for you. The core message is unavoidable. Reading isn't optional. It's not just a good habit.
No, it's presented as a neurological necessity to protect your mind. It's the absolute foundation for rational thought, for Akil.
And it's the bedrock of genuine freedom and finding purpose. If you ignore this command to read,
You risk not just intellectual stagnation, but actual functional decline, mental instability, and, frankly, being easily led or controlled. The cost is immense. It's your very self.
so, the final thought to leave you with comes from the sources themselves. They conclude with a powerful, almost sorrowful reference.
Quoting the prophet's lament on the Day of Judgment. My community has abandoned this Quran. Quran edilmiş bir halde bıraktı. Left it neglected.
The question these sources pose, then, is direct and personal. Are you actively using your life manual? Are you engaging in the critical discipline of reading in all its forms to guide your life?
Or are you, perhaps passively, resisting that fundamental command, and in doing so, choosing a path towards decline and ultimately irresponsibility?
A challenging question to ponder. Choose to read. Choose to use your akal.
It's presented as that fundamental of the choice.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back soon exploring more vital ideas from the sources.